Welcome to the Story Vault, where every tale is unlocked. From myths and legends to horror, fantasy, life stories, and real events, every story has a place here. Now, let's open the vault and begin today's story. Another tale has been unlocked here in the Story Vault. Michael Jackson's rise to global superstardom in the 1980s did not come without profound struggles behind the scenes. Struggles that would remain with him for the rest of his life and leave a permanent mark on the way he was seen by the public. Even at the height of his fame, as the world celebrated his music, his dance, and his groundbreaking artistry, Michael was already fighting private battles with his health, his body, and the never-ending scrutiny of the media. To understand his story during this period, one must look beyond the stage lights and into the very personal, often painful realities that shaped his life. Among the most important were his struggles with vitiligo and lupus, conditions that were largely misunderstood in their time and which made Michael the target of endless speculation. Alongside these illnesses, his decisions about plastic surgery, his changing physical appearance, and the rumors about his skin color became some of the most controversial topics of his career. Added to this was the pressure of his relationships, the marriages that unfolded under the world's microscope, and the loneliness that often came with being the most famous entertainer alive. Michael first began noticing changes in his skin during the early 1980s. Right as Thriller was making him into the most famous man in the world, small patches of lighter skin appeared on his hands and face, and he was reportedly distressed about what they could mean. For someone whose image was constantly in front of cameras, even the slightest change was magnified. Doctors diagnosed him with vitiligo, a chronic condition in which the immune system attacks the pigment cells in the skin, leading to white patches that often spread over time. At the time, vitiligo was not widely understood, and very few public figures had spoken about it openly. Michael, being intensely private, initially tried to cover it with makeup, using darker foundations to even out his skin tone. But as the condition spread, the task became harder, and the makeup itself began to attract questions. Fans and reporters noticed his skin appearing lighter in photos and television appearances, and without context, the public began to speculate wildly. Adding to the challenge was the fact that Michael was also diagnosed with discoid lupus erythematosus, an autoimmune disease that affects the skin and can cause scarring, rashes, and sensitivity to sunlight. Lupus, like vitiligo, was a poorly understood condition at the time, and together, the two illnesses created immense stress for him. He often wore hats, sunglasses, and gloves not only as fashion statements, but also to protect his skin from sun damage, which could worsen both conditions. The media, however, rarely reported it with compassion. Instead, they turned his medical struggles into fodder for tabloid headlines, fueling the perception that Michael was deliberately changing his appearance out of vanity or an obsession with looking white. This narrative haunted him for decades, despite his repeated insistence that he was proud of being a black man and that his changing appearance was the result of illness, not self-rejection. Plastic surgery further complicated how the world viewed him. Michael had broken his nose in a dance accident during the late 1970s, and he underwent rhinoplasty to correct breathing issues. The first surgery reportedly left him dissatisfied, and he had to undergo further corrections. Over the years, his nose became narrower and more sculpted, which many observers fixated on. Speculation grew that he had undergone multiple surgeries not only on his nose, but on his chin and cheekbones as well. Michael admitted to 2 nose surgeries and the addition of a chin cleft, but denied the exaggerated rumors that claimed he had dozens of procedures. In his own words, he considered himself shy and self-conscious, especially after years of his father, Joe Jackson, allegedly mocking his appearance during childhood. Michael often spoke about being teased for his nose and acne, and these insecurities seemed to fuel some of his decisions about cosmetic surgery. However, the tabloids turned this into a cruel circus, portraying him as a man obsessed with transforming himself into something unnatural. The constant rumors about his skin color hurt him deeply. Throughout his life, Michael insisted that he had not bleached his skin, but that makeup was used to even out the patchy tone caused by vitiligo. In a famous 1993 interview with Oprah Winfrey, he finally addressed the issue publicly, explaining his condition and showing visible frustration at the media's insinuations that he hated his blackness. His siblings, friends, and even his dermatologist confirmed the diagnosis, but the damage had already been done. For years, comedians, reporters, and talk shows mocked him, creating a caricature of a man who supposedly rejected his heritage. In truth, Michael remained deeply connected to African American culture and history, and his music often reflected themes of racial unity, social justice, and pride. But the public's obsession with his appearance often drowned out these messages. Michael's personal relationships were also subjected to relentless scrutiny. As the most eligible bachelor in the world, his dating life attracted constant headlines. Rumors linked him with actresses, models, and other celebrities, but Michael remained private about his romances. His first marriage came in 1994, when he wed Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley. The union stunned the world, bringing together the king of pop and the daughter of the king of rock and roll. Their relationship was passionate but short-lived, lasting less than 2 years. Both described the marriage as genuine, though they admitted the pressure from the media and their vastly different lifestyles made it difficult to sustain. Despite their divorce, they reportedly remained close for many years afterward. Michael's second marriage came in 1996, to Debbie Rowe, a nurse who had worked with his dermatologist. Debbie was compassionate toward Michael's health struggles, and their marriage was often portrayed as unconventional. Together, they had 2 children, Prince Michael Jackson and Paris Jackson. Debbie later explained that she married Michael largely to help him have children, and that while their marriage was not traditional, it was rooted in a shared love for the children they brought into the world. By 1999, the marriage ended in divorce, and Michael was granted full custody of their 2 children. In 2002, Michael had a third child, Prince Michael II, also known as Blanket, through a surrogate. His children became his greatest joy and his source of comfort amid the relentless public pressures. Despite the love he had for his children, Michael's personal life continued to be a magnet for speculation. The media often portrayed him as eccentric, a man detached from reality, living in a fantasy world at his Neverland ranch. The more reclusive he became, the more the tabloids invented stories about him. They called him Wacko Jacko, a nickname he despised, and they dissected his every appearance, from his skin to his clothing to his parenting choices. In truth, Michael was a deeply sensitive man struggling with real health challenges and the weight of being constantly misunderstood. His vitiligo and lupus were painful and exhausting, both physically and emotionally, and the ridicule he faced because of them was a wound he carried until his final days. For Michael, the tragedy was that the world rarely saw him as a human being in pain. Instead, his struggles became entertainment for others. The surgeries, the rumors, the illnesses, the relationships, all of it became part of a narrative he could not control. And yet, through it all, he continued to create music that inspired millions. Songs that spoke of healing, unity, and love. Behind the masks, the makeup, and the media frenzy, Michael Jackson remained an artist determined to leave behind a legacy greater than the whispers about his appearance. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next one. Until then, the vault is closed, but the stories live on.